been like a month and a half or something like that. I don't know. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but we are back. Another episode of Outside Shots. I don't know if you remember this guy, but it's Eddie Johnson. He's finally back from your world travels. You know, it seems like you had a really good time. I'm always envious of the things that you get to do in life. It's pretty cool.
Well, you know, it was one of those trips where the start of it is great because of the airline that you're flying on. All due respect to our airlines. I love our airlines. Shout out to Southwest, who I love. Maybe I get a free ticket here.
Not sponsored, but we would enjoy the sponsorship.
But then the flight over there is on Emirates Airlines. Oh, man. Man, look, I'm talking about big screen TV. You sit in this pod, you know, if you're fortunate enough to get a business class ticket. So you're on this pod, and it's like, you know, it's like a 15-inch television right in front of you, flat screen, in your seat. You got drinks all around you. You got a telephone. You can call some other people in different seats. You got an iPad. If you don't want to watch the TV, you can pull up and watch off the iPad.
Oh, my goodness.
You're getting meals all day long. And then when you want to stretch, you can get up and you can walk to the back of the plane, and it's an actual bar.
What?
In the back of the plane.
Oh, my God.
I think I sent you a picture. I don't know, but it's an actual
bar.
Of
the plane? No, you did not send
me
a picture.
It's a bar in the back of the airplane. So you can sit there and play cards. You can just hobnob. You can network. You can do all those different things.
Wow.
In the back of the plane. And so to be able to go there in that kind of comfort, you know, you're going to have an enjoyable time. And yes, I was in Israel. I had a quick stop in Dubai, but I was in Israel for 10 to 12 days. Athletes for Israel is the organization that I went on behalf of. And Athletes for Israel is basically fighting anti-Semitism and racism amongst Jews. And so a lot of athletes have gone this summer and had a tremendous time. Mark West was with me on that trip. And, you know, I always tell people, Saul, because I hate when people try to, especially in this period now in our country, where you go to Europe and people are reading just the worst stories in their newspaper.
Yeah.
And the worst stories, when I was over there, every day, I heard like from people that were there like, man, there was another mass shooting in your country. There was another mass shooting. So for the first 4 days I think we were there, it was a different mass shooting. Jeez. So if you live in a different country and you see that, they're going to view you differently. And so the only way for them to really find out that this is the greatest country in the world is to actually get on a plane and go visit. Mm-hmm. And that was my mindset in going to Israel. It's like, I keep hearing all these stories. It's an apartheid country and all of that. And I'm like, you know, I'm tired of hearing people tell me, because propaganda plays a huge role in every country because they want their country to be the best. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to go see for myself. And what I saw was not exactly what people write all the time and what they say. And that's the part that made me feel good about maybe the opportunity that they can get it together over there. I was walking the streets and I was going into homes for dinner of Jews, Arabs, Christians, Muslims. You wouldn't believe the areas that I went, and those areas were the areas that were supposed to be real serious issues. Now, of course, they do have issues, of course, as we have issues here. But I didn't feel like I wasn't safe when I was over there. As I said, I went into the homes of Palestinians and ate dinner in their houses and felt comfortable. And so to me, it just opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. It opened my eyes to, yes, it's not perfect over there without a doubt. I stood on a mountain, man. It's called Mount Bental. And I'm standing on this mountain, and you can actually see Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon from standing on this mountain. Wow. That's how close it is. It's almost similar to, you got Phoenix, and then Paradise Valley is a different country. Yeah. That's how close it is. Yeah. So when you have people that close, obviously you're going to have tension. Obviously you're going to have people that maybe can get into the mix of it to try to stir the pot and mess things up. But man, I saw some great, and I'll finish, I saw some great nonprofits over there. I visited them, and it was just tremendous. And I hope I get this name right. United Hatzalah, Yosef Haddad, is behind that innovation of Africa, where they go and they build towers to find water, and with solar panels, be able to pump the water up to villages who did not have water, that were drinking mud. It was, man, I'm telling you, it was a tremendous trip. And for me, I'll never forget it. And I encourage people, go, you know?
Yeah.
Thousands of people were there touring, not one issue. And here's the most important part. I actually walked on the same streets that Jesus walked on.
Oh.
That's why you want to go. I actually sat in the churches where he attended. Mm-hmm. Okay, that to me was unbelievable. I actually got baptized again in the Sea of Galilee. Like, those things you'll never be able to get in your lifetime unless you go.
Yeah.
And so for me, man, it was a tremendous trip. And I just encourage people, when they comment, go there and then comment to me. I get a lot of comments on Twitter. They say, well, you know, you're wrong. You've been misinformed. I like, have you gone there?
Yeah.
Go there. Like, then come back and say, Eddie, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
But until then, you cannot go on the word of others. Yes, it's issues over there without a doubt, and they admit it. But to me, I had a great time, man. Yeah. And I was pretty much informed on everything.
Sometimes, you know, I think we get consumed by the things that we consume, right? So like if you were on Twitter, you would think that, you know, this country is at each other's throats, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not great. But if you interact with people on a day-to-day basis and you're walking around and stuff like that, you don't see that toxicity as much as you do on Twitter, obviously, or on social media, right? So to your point, you know, it's a different experience living it than it is reading about it. Or, you know,
life is short, man.
And go. So we have issues, obviously, in this country. We have issues, and abroad they have issues. But you know, I think things are always a little bit more extreme online than they are in person.
We want our country. Everybody wants their country to be looked at as the best, and I get it. I have no issue with it.
Also, by the way, we are presented by OGs. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. Eddie, you've been gone for a while, doing some philanthropic stuff, which is cool. But the Suns did not wait for you to return to make moves, and they made a lot of moves. So we'll go ahead and start off with this, because this happened literally, I think, maybe a day or two after you took off. Bradley Beal, now in the fold for the Suns. I mentioned on our PHNX Suns show that I spoke to Joseph Blair of the Wizards, and got his opinion on Bradley Beal, and he talked about if there was one specific player that was best suited for this team and able to adapt to Booker and KD and not have to be that like superstar shooter all the time, it would be Bradley Beal. What is your overall take on his addition to this team?
Anytime you can go get a tremendous player, you do it. And then you worry about how it's all going to work after. It just makes me laugh when you got them couch potatoes, water boys out there all of a sudden will say, oh, that's just too many. There's too many shooters. There's not enough balls. You know what? I used to live in a 12,000 square foot house, and people say, oh, that house is too big. But damn it, I made it work. I loved it. I made it work. Yeah. Like, I got out of there after 25 years too, because they were right. The damn thing was too big, and my kids left. But my point is, when it wasn't useful for me, I left.
Yeah.
This is useful. Like, you got an opportunity for a tremendous basketball player that actually wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to be here. So when you want to be somewhere, you want to make it work. The robotic mindset in sports drives me crazy. And I get it. Like, if you've never played at a high level, then you are automatically going to say, oh, that's not going to work because the numbers doesn't say that. Bradley Beal scores this many points, and now Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, we have too much of that. We need this. But great players can make it work if they want it. He wasn't like traded here against his will. He actually had a no trade, and he wanted to come here. That is the only team that he wanted to come to. So in knowing that, he's going to make it work. Like, he's going to go out of his way. And what about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant? They have both shown over the last number of years, KD probably his whole career, that he will fit in with anybody. If you remember when he came in as a youngster, he had Russell Westbrook, he had James Harden. KD has never taken over 20 shots a game in his career, I don't believe. And trust me, he should be able to do that, but he hasn't.
Yeah.
Devin has learned over the years that it's not about scoring the points. He has taken a step back. He is trusted. He passes the ball. So you're talking about 3 players that will defer and give up the ball. I like that combination, man. I had no issue with the Bradley Beal pickup at all, and more so because he wanted to be here, and that says a lot about his character.
If you didn't get an opportunity to this morning, definitely go to ESPN.com and check out Wendy's article on Matt Ishbia talking about getting Bradley Beal, and what they had basically said was they took a flight to New York with the permission of the Wizards to be able to meet with Bradley Beal, and they had a 3-hour presentation. Josh Bartlestein, James Jones, Frank Vogel, Matt Ishbia, all in that room, and basically they set up this whole presentation. But Matt Ishbia was the one that really convinced Bradley Beal, not because of what he could do for the Phoenix Suns, but also how his family fit into the organization and their role as they move forward as a family with the Phoenix Suns. And I thought it was a tremendous article. Take a look at it. It gives you a little bit more insight into Matt Ishbia and his desire to be to make this franchise one of the best in the world. But Bradley Beal was sold that night. Like, he knew he wanted to be a Phoenix Sun that night. And with that no trade clause, powerful for him, because now he could dictate where he wants to go. And with the limited assets the Suns had, it was basically a confluence of perfect intangible. So I think in addition to Bradley Beal, obviously you got Keita Bates-Diop, Yuta Watanabe. You've got just a plethora. Eric Gordon. The list goes on and on. When you looked at all the free agents that signed for the minimums here, who's the one that stands out the most?
Well, I immediately knew when they got Bradley Beal, because I was in that position late in my career as a guy that was now flirting with the minimum contracts because I wanted to stay in the league. And the one thing that you're doing is you're trying to put yourself in a position where, one, you know that you're not counted on at a high level anymore in your career, or you're trying to put yourself in a great situation to be able to shine. Case in point, Bruce Brown, who went to Denver and nobody would offer him a deal, got a $6 million deal, and all of a sudden he's making $22 million. So players understand that, if they want to roll the dice on themselves, you go to a team that has a lot of talent and you feel like you can fit in and play a role. And quite honestly, you're going to be playing by yourself because no one's going to be guarding you. So you're going to be out there just shooting wide open, butt-naked jumpers, so.
Butt-naked jumpers.
And so.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's where those guys were. And that's why the Suns went out and, obviously Matt Ishbia, James Jones, and the front office in totality, Vogel went out there and they were able to sell because these guys know if they on the court with those 3, they're going to have a great opportunity to shine and a great opportunity to have a chance to win a championship. So I wasn't shocked that they were able to go out there and get mid-level guys and minimum guys quickly because those guys wanted to come here.
Yeah.
Like, they like, oh, yeah, I want to go there and play. And that's why I think it was a little bit easier for them to go out there and get it. So I wasn't shocked that they were able to get people as quickly as they did in the free agent period because those other guys were kind of scared, like, no, I want to go there, man. And the agents was probably saying, hey, man, go there, have a great year, and you can get paid.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of situation. And so I love what they did, a mixture of physicality and shooters. That's exactly what this team needed. And so the Suns went out and got it done. Man, I'm ecstatic about the pickups that they've gotten.
Yeah,
look, my estimation right now, we have the best three-point shooting team in the league. Bar none. We have the best in the league. Our 3 top players are excellent three-point shooters. And now you go, what's in Watanabe?
Watanabe.
Oh, yeah, I got it right.
You
got Eric Gordon. I'm telling you, man, look, Josh Okogie's going to get better with his 3. He's going to be open more than ever. He's working on it right now. He's going to play a huge role. Damian Lee, one of the better three-point shooters in the league, one of the best in the league. man, we obviously we can maybe tweak something at the end or whatever. If something happens, something pops up. But for me, man, this is a championship team right now.
Let's talk about that, Eddie, because there's a lot of rumors going around, and you know how rumors are.
Harden, the rumor you got a haircut. I guess you did.
Harden, T.J. McConnell yesterday. Do you think the Suns are done making moves this offseason?
I don't think they're done. I think, and I think the guys at the end of the roster maybe should have some worry. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I'm just saying it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't think they're done. Look, if you're running a team, you should never be done. Like, Denver won the title. They're not done, man, because they lost a couple of key players, obviously, in Brown and Jeff Green. But even if they kept those guys, I don't think they would have been done. Like, you always want to continue to build your team, to take care of your house. No, they're not done. I mean, there's some players out there that's probably on the landscape that they have their eyes on as well.
Well, you kind of said the guys at the end of the bench. Do you think they have another big move in them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. I know you're talking about Deandre. I just don't think so, unless somebody wows them with some crazy deal. I think this is the age where DeAndre's what is he, 24, 25?
Yeah, 25.
He's 25. I always say this. Like, I try to be really tempered in judging players that come into the league 19, 20 years old, because you shouldn't be in the league. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I don't care how talented you are. Zion Williamson we knew he was talented. He should not have come in the league when he did. Mm-hmm. Look at him, his body. He can't stay healthy. He can't play in games. Why? Because he didn't develop the maturity in college to be able to go take care of his body, to understand his body, to be able to nurture his body when he had injuries. And then when he got to the league, he'd know how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of players aren't, even though they might have a body to play in the league, they might have the game, they might not have the maturity. And maturity is the important part. It's females that are very mature at 15, 16 years old. But we do know we can hold on to them, until they 18 years old before they go off to college. And it's important that you hold on to people as long as you can to get them ready for the next step.
Yeah.
And so for me, when guys come in at 19, 20 years old, even though they're talented, even though they can probably put up numbers in the league, from a maturity standpoint, are they going to be on time for practice all the time? As Zion came public and said, are they going to eat right and make sure they take care of their diet because, quote unquote, they got a ton of money? Mm-hmm. All those things come into play. And so with DeAndre, he's put up double numbers as a young player, and now he's seeing what an adult has to deal with. Even though you want to make him an adult when he comes in at 20, it's not the case, man. Like, now he knows why. He's been the subject of trade talk for the last couple of years. Players have notoriously just gotten on him. The media has called him out. Probably sure his family has probably gone at him too and said things. And so for me, you reach the prime of your maturity for a man when you hit 25. Like, now you see. Like, now it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's about you. And I just want to see if he can step it up, because he's taking a beating, man, and rightly so in a lot of areas. But then I think overboard in some. But I think he's reached that age where Frank Vogel is saying, you know what? I think I got him now.
Well,
and I think that's the key.
Every time I've talked to Frank Vogel about DA, his eyes light up. Like, I think Frank Vogel sees something in DA that is very, very appealing. He's been around bigs before, and he's gotten them to play at a higher level defensively. But I also think there's a lot of similarities, ironically, between both of our number one picks in this city, Kyler Murray and Deandre Ayton. And right now, for the last basically year and a half, Kyler Murray, since that playoff game debacle, was getting drugged through the media. He was really the butt of all the jokes. He was the scapegoat. And I think Kyler Murray took that personally. And these last 6 months, he's kind of transitioned himself and his approach as he matures and is starting to figure it out. Like, okay, no, he's taking that personally. He's trained to try and be back for week 1, right? And I think DA, if he's wise, he will do the same thing. He will take this personally. He will play it with a more focused, intent on what he's doing on a day-to-day basis. Not saying that he didn't before, because I don't see what he does behind the scenes. You probably see a little bit more of that than I do. But I don't think Deandre Ayton doesn't want to perform at a high level. I don't think that at all. But I just think from time to time he gets in his own headspace. He gets in his own way, and that's what's slowed him down. And I'm hoping that Frank Vogel, you're not asking for a psychiatrist to come in and fix DA. That's not what it is. But you do need somebody who is going to approach it a different way than has been approached before, just to get him to hear the message a little bit clearer. That's all. That's all you're asking for. And I do feel like I'm high on DA for this season. I think DA will have a much better year this year. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I think, obviously, with the talent around him, it lends itself to him having to dominate when he gets those opportunities, because he's going to have a lot of opportunities. There's just no way around that.
Yeah, you said a key thing, hear the message, right? And so the message I think DeAndre has been hearing is, man, concentrate on basketball a little bit more than you do. Not to say you're not doing it at a high level, because he's been able to be a double-double guy for most of his career so far, which that's why he got paid. You dress it up however you want. He's a double-double guy, okay? And so that says a lot right there. So he's not a bad basketball player. The problem for him is he's the number 1 pick in the entire league, and that was over Luka Doncic. That was over Trae Young, all right? And so that's always going to live with him. And, yeah, he's the only one of those 3 so far that's gotten to a final. Yeah. But people they're going to push back and say, well, look what Giannis did when you got there. So it's always going to be a hill, some more space on that hill to climb. But again, you said something. Listen, the thing with DeAndre and any young player, and I would tell them this, and that's why I wrote the book I did, You Big Dummy. And I'm not calling you a big dummy. I was on the cover of the book. You can get it on Amazon. If you don't believe me, it's one of the best books out there for young people to get them ready to be a tremendous athlete, because I put myself on Front Street. And the key thing in that thinking is you got to give up stuff, man. Like, if you want to reach a higher level, you got to give up stuff. And DeAndre is to this point where the video games, because he's very well known for just wanting to be this video game guru. He's out there playing, Fortnite, whatever this game is. It can take up the space that you can be working on to become a better cerebral player. Not just on the court, but cerebral. Like, instead of playing video games, watch more basketball games. Like, if I was him, I would watch every game Jokic plays that he's not playing. Mm-hmm. Not on tape, live. I would watch it. I would watch every game Embiid plays that he's not playing. Because those are the guys that you're going to learn from and try to get to the level that they are at. Why are they there and you're not at the highest level? Yeah. And that's what I did as a player. I watched Kiki Vandeweghe, who I wanted to get better. I watched Larry Bird. I watched a Purvis Short. I played in high school with Mark Aguirre, and I still watched him. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, man, put your life into the game of basketball, and he'll reach heights, man, that he never thought he could. And finally, shed some people in your life that aren't on board with what you want to do. You gotta shed them, DeAndre Ayton. You got to, man. Yeah. Not like shed them in an aggressive way, not in a really bad way. Just say, hey, man, you gotta go back home. Hey, man, you gotta go to school. Hey, man, you got to go get a life. Go get a job. I'll buy a company. Hey, you want to learn how to own a franchise? I'll invest in a franchise, and you learn to go run it. That's what LeBron did for his dudes. Yeah. And they have added gazillions to his bank account. That's what I'm saying with these young guys. And hopefully DeAndre is going to get that message.
I think at some point he will. Hopefully he'll be in a Suns uniform. Also, he mentioned it earlier, and I got this while you were gone. I got actually 2 copies. I got one for myself.
You're good. You should have.
But we will be giving this away. Maybe EJ will sign it too and put in a nice message.
Of course
for you.
I will.
We'll do something on social media for that.
Doesn't that guy look good on that?
He looks very young. When was this made? When was this written?
When I retired.
So I'm not wrong. He was.
When I retired, one of my worst years because I had nothing to do. I was 40 years old, and I hated that year of my life because I just I had nothing to do. Golf didn't consume it to the point where it does now. I don't think I was the best dad. I don't think I was the best husband because I just was locked into an abyss of just wanting to be alone and try to deal with what has just happened to me in my career and what I was going to do. And after a couple of months, man, I just straightened up, man. And I had bought a cabin up north in Sholo. Man, I went up there, man, locked myself in a room for about 2 weeks, came back home, didn't come out of the office for about 3 weeks. I'm not kidding you. They'll tell you. And I just wrote, man. And I went to companies to try to, publish my book. And, they weren't too into it or they didn't want to, split the profits with me. I was like, forget this. So I went and took a class on publishing my own book. And that's what I did. And
wow.
I published my own book and went out and got editors to edit it behind what I wrote. And voila. So if anybody wants to write their own book, you don't need to go to a publishing company. You can learn it, and like I did, and go publish your own damn book and get 95% of the profits. Cha-ching.
As always, we're brought to you by the good folks at OG's. Go to ogsbrands.com. Check them out. Must be 21 and over to enjoy. They got all the great edibles. They got the Happy Balance edibles. They have the sativas, the indicas. They have a new line of creams. They got a new pink lemonade drop that just happened. That's a limited time edition. They're all delicious. They're all fantastic. And they all, the great thing about OG's is when you take the edible, you really don't taste the THC or anything like that. It's like you're eating candy.
Took some in Vegas?
I take some in Vegas. Come on, man.
You did an interview. I'm telling you, you did an interview and talking about, and you said some little comment about, something about your face or something. I forgot what it was. I said, yeah, you look like you drunk.
What are you talking about? What interview are you talking about?
You were interviewing Joshua Kogi, I believe, and you tweeted out, what is wrong with my face right now?
Yeah. Because I had people were saying that it looked like I had to take a shit.
You look like you were drunk. You're in Vegas too?
I was not drunk. I'm a professional when I show up to the arena. I promise you.
Anything goes in Vegas, man. That's the one place you can do an interview drunk. Okay, so you're okay.
Yeah. I was not drunk. I was good. I was professional. And Josh Okogie knows that too. But yeah, everything was money out in Vegas. And yes, I did have a few OGs while I was out there at the pool, chilling out, watching at that stadium swim at Circa. Look at that. Yeah, how about that? But again, ogsbrands.com. You must be 21 and over to check out the closest dispensary to you to get these delights. So new rules, Eddie. There's a couple new rules.
What's up? Comment on something?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Rockin' DA Mike. He says, that's BS. I have multiple businesses and properties and still play video games. You took it away from me.
You took it away, yep.
And I'm in my 40s. It's a hobby, but it shouldn't consume you and interfere with your goals. Look.
Yeah, he's responding to somebody else saying.
Yeah, he's arguing with somebody in the chat.
He's arguing with somebody else in the chat saying that Ayton needs to stop playing video games. That should be this childish stage of someone's life.
Right.
Not playing.
All right, and that's fine. But I think what I wanted to respond to him is he's probably he's in his 40s. Mm-hmm. DA's 25. So when you're in your 40s.
But he's saying he still plays video games.
No, but he's in his 40s.
Yeah, and that's
so
okay.
he's balanced it. No, he's learned how to balance.
Gotcha. There you go. Yep.
So he's learned. Like you can't compare your 40s to somebody 25. Like I have one, but I don't play it much. I like the VR. I like to put the VR.
But again, like it's the balance. That's the thing, the balance, right?
Yes.
It's not I think people, and especially on social media, I think people confuse DA playing video games from taking time away from him playing basketball, and that's not the case.
No.
Because Devin Booker plays probably more video games than DA does. He's up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning playing COD,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
But he balances out with performing his craft during the day, so that way it doesn't take away. And DA might not be doing that as much when he should be. And
Devin was probably more mature at his age than DA was. That's not a slight on DA.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Like, everybody reaches maturity at a different time. So you can't use Devin as an example and say, well, Devin came in at 18, 19, and he did this. But Devin was immature at early age too. And there was more immaturity on the court where he was more focused, and he would admit it that he was trying to score 80 points every game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned to defer. He learned to balance his game. He learned to trust teammates. So he had different ways that he had to mature. Mm-hmm. So everybody has to. I'm just saying that to cut down on it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying give up video games, because I'd rather him play video games and stay in his hotel room on the road than be out at the club.
Yeah.
So no, what I'm saying is turn on the TV, and if Jokic is on and you can catch it, turn that on and watch that, right? Then go play your video game. That's my point. Like, just balance yourself, but make sure that you're giving 80% to your craft when you're playing it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying.
Again, it's a balance. And I don't think this is a one, you can't blanket everybody. You can't blanket everybody as saying like, okay, because they play video games, this is why they're playing bad. Like, it's just not fair. Damn near the entire NBA plays video games, so everybody's basically on the same playing field, right? To me, it just comes off as such an old take. It's an old, and it's also kind of a lazy take. Like, you got to be sure that we're talking about balance. You can't just take something away and say that that's going to be the cure-all, because that might not be the cure-all. And there are other things, like, listen, like you mentioned, guys in the NBA, if you think video games are the only thing that's distracting these guys, you are high and out of your mind. Hell, they were talking about Victor Wembanyama just in his first week, okay? In his first week in the NBA, he's at Summer League, and in between the 2 games that he had to play in the Summer League, he had like 10 different events that he had to go to meet and greet people and sign things and meet this person or this executive or whatever. Like, that consumes you. And in the middle of that, he had to try and find time to go to practice. He had to go try and find time to work on his game because of the first game wasn't that impressive, right? And he cares about that kind of stuff. Like, these guys have busy schedules. It's not just the video games that get in the way. So to have that as the I gotcha is just ridiculous to me. Like, these guys need a release in some way.
Yeah,
there are stressful jobs here in the NBA. Yeah. Like, fuck, I don't give a shit that DA plays video games. If that's the way he can kind of decompress a little bit, more power to him.
Yeah, but don't overdo it. That's all we're saying. Like, and the only way you learn that is by surrounding yourself with people that can really help you balance yourself. Because you got a lot of things that you have to do, right? Like, you shouldn't defer to somebody paying your bills so you can play more video games. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't defer to having somebody go take your mom somewhere. You should be driving to take your mom somewhere.
Yes.
Carve out time for everything in your life, and don't defer somebody else to do it so you can do this more than maybe you should. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Like, you got to have total balance. Like, and so pick up a book and read it. Spend an hour a day. Like, you go on the road. I used to always spend an hour a day when I'd get on the road. And, back then it wasn't internet at a high level. So you're reading newspapers, you're reading magazines. Man, I'd be on the road, man. I got a stack of magazines and newspapers like this, right? And so for me, I got my reading in. Then I would call and check in with people. And then I would do me in regards to maybe playing a video game, maybe going to a movie, maybe going to a club. Mm-hmm. But my point is, I would balance it all. Like, it's not just basketball and then video games. And that's what I'm saying. Like, lock in, because what happens when you have 2 competing things that you really love on each side of you, all of a sudden you start to, like, when you're playing the game, you're thinking about when the game is over so you can go back and play the video game.
Yeah.
Trust me, I played with guys like that. We used to play cards on the plane. During the game, guys be on the bench, like, near the end of the game. It could be a close game. They down at the end of the bench talking about, man, we get it on the plane. I'm gonna get you. No, dude, you talking about cards right now. We playing a game.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And the way that works is you got to balance a lot of different things in your life on the side of what your true job is. And I think you'll be able to balance it better. I normally charge for that information.
It's time management. It's a skill, and it's a learned skill that sometimes some people have it takes more time for them to adjust than others. Speaking of adjusting, new rules in the NBA like that. New rules in the NBA, 2 of them specifically. One, anti-flopping rule, which will lead to a technical if blown a whistle blown on that. And then the other one, oh man, I just went blank on it. Oh, dang it. Anyway, let's talk about
the flopping rule.
The second challenge. The second challenge. There you go.
Second challenge.
Now, a second challenge. If you win the first one, you get a second. You automatically get a second challenge, which to me should have been the case from the jump. Well, any overall thoughts on those 2 rules, especially the anti-flopping rule? I feel like that one.
Pat me on the back for a second. I'll tell you what. Pat me on the back. Good job. I've been telling the commissioner's office every time we've interviewed them, I'm going to take credit for it, yeah. Joe Dumars, Kiki Vandeweghe when he was in, they'll tell you, I have notoriously continued to tell them, you made a mistake on the coaching challenge. Why on earth are you penalizing a coach that was correct in challenging in the first half, and he doesn't have the opportunity to do it again? It is the official's fault. It's not the coach's fault. And so coaches were stuck to not knowing that they were right, but they didn't want to use it because they knew they needed it for late in the game. Like, I'm like, come on, guys. That is so obvious. And they finally listened to me. Thank you for finally listening. And I'm serious. On my Sirius XM NBA Today radio show, 1 to 4 Pacific time every day, 3 hours a day. Eddie Johnson and Justin Termini. I said your name, you couch potato. Water boy. Both. I've notoriously said that, man. So I'm happy they've done that. I think the coaches are happy. And the flopping part, that's going to be the tough one.
Man.
Some of these guys are really good at flopping. Man. Like Marcus Smart, I don't know when he's flopping and when he's not. And here's why. Because he gets hit. Like, he a tough son of a gun. Like, he don't care. Like, he'll stick his grill in there and he'll take the hit. Like, and then sometimes he'll fake the hit. How do you judge him? Like, I'm more worried about how they're going to judge him than say, I think Luka is transparent. I think we can tell that he flops a lot. When you're the biggest dude out there at your position, one of the strongest guys in the league, and you're flopping like that. When you're Joel Embiid and you're one of the most massive guys in the league and you're on the floor every time.
LeBron's points per game about to go down another 10 points.
Well, I don't. You want to get on LeBron about flopping.
I'm kidding, man. I just said that to get under your skin.
But he doesn't flop like that. Everybody flops. No, everybody flops. But he is not always flopping. Like, I'm talking about guys that's always flopping. Okay. Like, the reason LeBron flops is because if he doesn't, they won't call the foul. Like, I'll give like Karl Malone, same way. Like Charles Barkley, I will give them dudes credit. Like, they have to flop because they're the biggest people on the court, and Joel Embiid to a point, and even Jokic. Like, they have to flop because the officials think right away that they're so massive that, he didn't hit him that hard. So they have to embellish. So I won't even get on those guys for that. I think that's what's happened with those big guys. But with the Marcus Smarts of the world, the Luka Doncic of the world, those guys, man, They flop, man. And it's going to be difficult to be able to figure that out. Steph Curry flops in his way.
It can't be a 10-game run at the beginning of the season and then we just stop calling the flops in general. Like, it has to be something that the refs make a point of emphasis the entire season, because we've seen this before. We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in the NBA. New rules get implemented, and they're pretty strict and strong that first, 10 to 20 games, and then after that, it just kind of fizzles away, and we go right back to where we were. The flopping, sometimes when you're watching a basketball game, and hell, Devin Booker's been, has been this guy before, where he'll take it to the basket and then they'll flop, or they'll be like, and they'll exaggerate something.
And he's not flopping.
And instead of getting back on defense or saying something, they turn around, they're bitching to the refs. And that's the part of the game that I'm like, bro, I'm so done with it. Like, everybody in the league, stop. Just play. I was watching summer league games. Now, these are summer league games. These are guys that are trying to make a career. It's a completely different entity. I get that. But, there was a lot of contact underneath the rim in the games that I watched, and not nearly as much as what I would see in the regular season. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, again, I want superstars to just play through it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I want that part of the game to come back to a certain degree, because the flopping is ruining the game to a certain degree. I understand the guys that need to, like Shaq, right? Shaq was so big that 18 dudes could hang all over him and they still wouldn't call a foul. So I could understand why a guy like that might want to start flopping just to exaggerate some of the contact, but he never did.
Never.
Obviously, he didn't have to either. So,
but still, he never flopped, and he got fouled every time he had the ball. Yeah. Every time Shaq had the ball, he flopped. I mean, they fouled him. And so here's my next rule that I would want to see them institute. And it's not even a rule. It's just something that they used to have. And I go at them all the time about it. So here I go again. So put a C on, you designate 2 captains per team. Mm-hmm. You put a C on their chest. Those are the only 2 players that can walk up to an official. Now, the rest of the players can complain all they want. They can complain. But if they walk up to an official complaining, automatic tech. Like, automatic tech. You can complain 10 feet away. You can say, come on, man. Dude, come on, man. I got fouled. That's fine. But when you stop and you walk toward the official to complain, tech. Only 2 players on the court, can do it. That's it. Now, somebody might say, well, what if the both players on the court that C's on their chest not on the court? Well, I think they can make an adjustment to that. If the 2 players on the court doesn't have a C, when that player checks in, go up to the official, I'm the captain on the floor right now. That's it. That's it. Because to me, it will speed up the game, and these players will save money because they're not getting texts, and the league can't say they've never done it. Because they did. I was one of them guys with a C on my chest. So I know it works. And I would love to see the league go back to that.
Oh, yeah. That's how we were brought up, too. In high school, you had a captain. College, you have a captain. The NBA kind of went away from that for it's been a period. So we already talked about rumors. So we're basically done with the show. But I did have one other question for you, Eddie. I'm fascinated to hear your perspective on Chris Paul going to the Warriors. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about that. Chris Paul and his fit, to me, I just can't really see it because of the Warriors' playing style. And I know people are saying, well, he's so intelligent that he's going to be able to adapt to a certain degree. And sure, I get that. But physically, I do have questions about how his role is going to be with that team. They got older guys on that team as well, but they still, if you've always been a marathon runner, even when you get old, you're still a marathon runner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like Chris Paul's DNA has ever been that style. I want to know what your perspective is and how you think that might work out, because I don't think it's going to work out. But what say you?
This is why I'm on the show. Just try to educate you.
Please do. I would love to hear this perspective.
Early in my career, I used to run all day. All day. Like Michael Brooks, guy played in the league, played at LaSalle University, man. He used to run all day. And I said, damn, Mike, why you always running, man? You're not going to get the ball. He said, Eddie, I don't care. The fact that I'm sprinting down the court, I know you still got to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? In the fourth quarter, you're going to be tired.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's when I'm going to get my numbers.
Yep.
He told me that actually doing play, like doing a game. I was one of them dudes. I'd go up to guys and say, hey, man, how'd you do that move? And they might answer me. They might not. You know, part of it was me getting in their head too, but still a lot of them would, you know, and I learned to do that, you know, as my career went along. And here's why I'm saying that to you. When my career started to get older, I couldn't run that damn fast anymore. I couldn't. And so now I used to think, okay, how am I going to prolong my career? Well, I used to always use my teammates well. And so now I got real cerebral and used them even more because now I wasn't the fastest guy, 94 feet. Like I didn't have that quick step or the strength like I used to be able to separate myself. So I need more help than ever. That's why the Chris Paul acquisition for them was great because Steph can't keep running. We've seen Clay running on one leg. Like those guys now, they used to get open with what? I used to show Steph off the ball. He just running and he get open. Steph can't keep doing that forever. And they paying him $50 million this year. They got to find a way for him to suppress some of that energy and score even easier. Chris helps him do that. You know why? Because once they get into half court, that's when Chris is going to be Chris. Now they're just running off down screens. They're just running. And now Chris can do this. He can find them. 2-man game. He can come off. And now, like when Draymond does it, right? Nobody's going to jump up on Draymond. Okay? Steph, if he's doing it, he's what? Exerting more energy. Ultimately, you want Steph to have the ball in his hands. I'm educating you a little bit. Even Clay. Chris right now in a half court, and that's how they're going to use him. Steve Kerr even said it. He didn't actually say it, but I know what he meant when he said it, that things are changing for them. They have to play differently now. When Chris goes into the game, you're going to see now Clay and Steph, and Steve knows this more than anybody, coming off down screens, not having to exert a ton of energy, coming off taking jumpers. And when Chris is on the floor as a defender, you can't slough off like they do Draymond. They can't put a guy in the paint and dare Draymond to shoot. Chris going to kill him from mid-range. So that's why they needed him, because those two guys are getting older. And who was he sitting with at the game in Vegas? Steph. Steph knows it. Steph wants to be able to score the ball easier, man. Like Steph has to exert a lot of energy to score. And he's one of the greatest at doing it, probably the greatest. But now Chris is going to help them do that opposite of what they love to do.
Okay. Well, I hear you. I do. The problem for me is that you tell me if you've seen this before, 2 superstars on a team with a center or a forward that can score, but has not been relied on to score, right? Draymond's a much better facilitator, so I'll give you that instead of DA, right? And then whoever the 5th starter is going to be for the Warriors. I just don't see how, if you focus on Clay and Steph, I don't believe in CP for a long period of time being able to be consistent enough.
Enough
at this age as he progressed.
His last 2 years he was ultra consistent. Dude, he just couldn't stay healthy.
Not only the health though, he's declining. You can't say he's not declining. He shot the
3-ball this year better than he's ever done in his career.
How did that work out in the playoffs when he wasn't even available?
But he got it. So now you just jump to the injury part. Now, if you want to bring up the injury part,
the Clippers series, he was not very good from 3.
Look. What I'm telling you is during the course of the season, and that's what Golden State saw, he was shooting very well from the 3. Probably got fatigued, without a doubt. Chris Paul's not going to go to Golden State and play 34 minutes a game. Like, he might be lucky to play 25 minutes.
You think that's really going to happen in Golden State, that he's only going to play 25 minutes a game?
Yes.
Oh, man.
They're going to conserve him without a doubt.
That's what they should have been doing here in Phoenix, and they still didn't do it.
But come on, our guards weren't like Steph right now and Clay. The Golden State's whole entire team is built around their scoring.
You had Devin Booker.
That's fine, but Steph and Clay will probably go down as the best backcourt in history of the game now.
True.
All due respect to Devin, who was unreal. So you got those two guys, all right? So he doesn't have to play a ton of minutes. He doesn't. And
I don't see how you're going to play a specific style and then throttle it all down when Chris Paul comes into the game.
Because he's going to have a group out there. You didn't hear what I was saying.
Dude, Steph and Clay are rhythm shooters. You can't sit there and tell me that they're not.
I was a rhythm shooter, and it was easy for me. Look, listen,
you can't go 100 miles an hour and then all of a sudden throttle it back down to 50 and still be in the same rhythm. Are you
crazy? Yes, you can. I just gave you an example of me running the floor like crazy, and in the half court, I was a monster. I wasn't running. Like, all I did was go down on the baseline, dude. Here's me on the baseline. Here's a big guy. Go over like I'm going off that way. He comes down, sets a damn screen. I come off. Listen, hold up. I come off. Now, they got to do one of two things. This guy that's guarding, this guy right here, has to hedge it or step out. If he doesn't, I got an 18-foot wide open, butt naked, like you were last night taking a shower jumper, okay? All right? And if the guy steps up, guess what this guy has on him? A freaking mouse in the house. It's half-court basketball. And then all I'm telling you is they can play both ways. Like, look, they don't always have to run 100 miles an hour to get the same damn shot that they would have gotten on a simple damn down screen with a guy with the ball in his hands, where now, see, here's the problem.
Okay.
If Draymond's out there running this offense that they're going to run with Chris, the guy that's guarding Draymond will look behind him and he'll see, here's a down screen for Steph. You know what that guy's going to do? He's going to step back into the lane of that pass. That's what he's going to do. I played with Kevin Johnson, Reggie Theus, Larry Drew. I played with guys where you couldn't do that. Because if you slough off, he got a wide open jumper. Those are scores. Chris Paul can score the ball. So they can't do it. So what's going to happen is Steph and Clay are going to come off naked, man. And you defensively now have to try to guard them in the half court. That's why they got Chris.
Okay. All right.
You find that out.
I hear you. However, you're talking about 16 seconds on the shot clock, okay? So that's all you have to man up for is just 16 seconds because you know old man Rivers coming over that court at about that 7-8 second mark at half court, right? So 16 seconds to guard these two guys plus Chris Paul and then have to worry about all the adjustments that you're talking about. When the whole game, and for really the last decade, these guys have been going at a certain pace all the time. And now let me talk now. Now you get to this point where you're bringing in this guy who's been known to slow things down significantly and try to pick you apart methodically, and you're expecting these guys to play at the same kind of clip and the same kind of level. Like Klay Thompson, I will tell you this right now, especially for Klay. Maybe not Steph, I'll give you Steph, but for Klay, at this point in his career, he needs all the rhythm shots he can get because that's the way he's making his money. He's not the same Klay as he used to be. He can't turn it on at a split second as high a level as he used to. He's slowed down a little bit because of the injuries and stuff like that. So now you're asking him to play at two different paces with two different players, and I just don't see it happening at the level that the Warriors have been accustomed to. That's all I'm saying.
You're talking about a pace to get to the same damn spot that they're going to get to if you run a simple down screen. They're running and they're coming off doing this.
Eddie.
Look, listen. Do you know what what Looney is? It's a freaking truck. You know what Draymond is? A truck. Draymond can play off the ball in a half-court system by setting screens and getting these guys open. It has nothing to do with them sprinting. When Curry sprints and he's doing all of this, he's getting the ball in the same spot if he had just gotten a simple screen down and got open. It is the same thing. They have a great system of passing and cutting and moving. You're right. But they can adjust. These are veteran basketball players. I played on 7 damn different teams, man. You think every damn team had the same system? I still put up numbers. If you put
But you didn't put up the same numbers everywhere you went.
If you put early in my career, when in my prime, yeah.
Yeah, because you were fucking young.
No, I know. And so now as you get older, you have to get more help. And so now you can't outrun people. You're right. And so now you need more help. So now you put a system in where you got a guy that's not going to get left open. And now you got guys running off and they don't have to run as hard. They can just run to a spot. And this guy can be more aggressive now in getting them open to get them to the same damn spot they would have got to when they were sprinting. That's what saves your career. That is the point. That's what we're talking about.
I got you.
That's what saves your career. That's what still allows you to get the same looks that you didn't need to have as much help to get those looks. That's it. And Chris will provide that for them with his ability to make a man stay on him. They don't have that. They never had that with Draymond. And that's why they need Chris now. Because you saw in the playoffs how the Lakers, they didn't even guard him. They didn't even guard Draymond.
No, they didn't.
Okay then, so Steve Kerr knows that, you know what? We need Chris Paul now because when things get bogged down and our guys aren't outrunning guys like they used to, we still got to find a way to get the same quality shots that we would get if we were cutting and moving. That's what Chris provides. So you're wrong.
Again, I'm a big rhythm guy. I'm just saying if you were dancing with your girl and you were in one little rhythm and then you switched it up, she ain't gonna like it. And that's what I feel like the Warriors are about to get into with Chris Paul. So that's just my 2 cents.
I think that was a penny. Hey, can I give a shout out? Shout out to Athletes for Israel, Eric Rubin. Behind it all, tremendous job, man. We had a tremendous trip to Israel. I just really hope that people, you read, yes, and you listen, but man, it is nothing like going to see it. That's all I tell you. So go.
There you go. As always, you can join my man later on this afternoon on Sirius NBA Radio. That's it. We'll be Hey, we got a couple extra shows that we owe you folks, so we will be back a couple times in the next
I'm not going
weeks.
anywhere anytime soon. So, I'm going in trips in the country, but it's a chance I could be going to Africa, so you might miss me there. But other than that.
The world tour for Eddie Johnson.
PJ got to get it going, man. I want to see the world
tour for Eddie Johnson continues.
I want to be validated that this is the best country on the face of the planet, right? The only way to do it is you got to go compare.
Well, this is the best show on the planet, so there's a validation right there.
I'm the best host. I don't know about all that.
Oh my God. We'll be back next week. We appreciate you all for joining us. Follow him at JumpShot8 on Twitter. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman. Until next time, peace.